Hi, everyone. Welcome back to From Basics to Success. Jacqueline Vazquez here. I want to welcome you to the first episode From Basics to Success in the first segment for Talking the Talk Eventfully. That is going to be the segment that's going to describe the different types of words or phrases that are commonly used in the event industry. So stay tuned. What's a BEO? Here's what it is: banquet, event, order. Sometimes another common word that will be used, or phrase or abbreviation, will be the EO, which is event order. What the event order, or what the BEO stands for, it's basically a function sheet. It's, if you're an event planner, it's an accelerated timeline. The BEO is similar to the use of a timeline because basically that's what it is. Just that there's a little bit of difference in how it's used and to whom it's distributed to. In this session, I will elaborate, discuss, and give you a few little takeaways. So here's a simple sample, tongue twister, simple sample that I am going to give you 5 takeaways that I feel are super important. But before that, let me give you a little background. Who gives you the BEO? The BEO is usually given by the venue. Mostly hotels work with BEOs, but also reception halls as well. They all may use different platforms. So there might be times that the actual BEO or event order may look a little different. But still and then, here are 5 takeaways that are important and that you should be able to find every single event order. So number 1, order number. Why would the order number be important? That's because that order number will be referenced in different other areas. For example, in addition to being given a BEO, you will receive a banquet check, which has the total amount of what's going to be paid. And those banquet checks may reference some of the event order numbers. So that's why it's important to really make sure that you understand which event order number applies to what and if it's correct. Okay, so that's number 1. Then the next thing, you might find a little trivial as to why you think that's important. But if you're a planner, you know that this is. So event date, please review that it's the correct date. The third one is the client information. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes I have received some that have another client's name or another client info. So make sure that it's correct. The fourth one is the event detail number 1. That little line right now may be a one-liner, but in different types of event orders, it may have a whole list of different lines in that little section, and it will either be itemizing one location, or it'll also itemize several locations. It all depends on the venue, the platforms they use. Some of them will use event orders to sum everything up and put it in one order number. And some may use multiple banquet event orders, and those I usually have a lot of fun with, especially when you're doing multiple days in multiple meeting rooms, and you have to make sure that everything is consistent and correct, right? So that line is very important. Again, the event date, sometimes the event date is there as well, and it's repeated, sometimes it's not. But all of the other pertinent information, timing, amount of people, which room it is, guarantees, and the rate of the room, right? So please be mindful of this section. It may seem small, but it's very important. And then the last takeaway, number 5, is even more important. It is the nook and cranny. It is the meat of all when it comes to the details. So in that particular instance, it's listing everything separately, from anything to do with setup, with food, with beverage, with any miscellaneous items. This includes everything from tables that are needed, the number of tables, the type of tables, if the tables get linen or if they're coming from outside, if they're providing linen, what kind of linen. So when I say it's the nook and cranny, it's everything and anything. They're listing that here because they want to make sure that whoever they're distributing this to, they're able to do what they need to make sure it is set up. Now in this section, you'll notice a difference between the prior example. In sample 1, it was fairly simple. Take a moment to review this. You'll notice that they're including everything. So it might be a few pages, but it's a few pages under one event order, and they're listing everything. So with that said, they're breaking down there that they have several rooms. They even listed the foyer. So they have the boardroom, they have the classroom, 2 different classrooms, and what the setup is for what and what time. So if you notice that is to give everyone information as to the where and the what is taking place. And sometimes you would think, well, why would they need to know what's taking place there? Just so that they understand the schematics of everything that is being laid out and why, right? And then the next section, you also see a little bit more. If you see that little section on the left with food, you will see that there is a lot of details in reference to having a continental breakfast that's going to be in the foyer, right? And that's important to know because they need to understand what's taking place there, what's going to be provided, so that they know between 8 and 10, the continental breakfast will be set up. And to the right, you'll notice the setup section. And the setup section basically is itemized by meeting space, by time, by what's happening, how many people. And again, this is an important piece for everyone who is working the event, that is a part of the event venue, the location, the hotel, the banquet location, that they understand who is responsible for the food, who's responsible for the setup of the tables, the linens, etc. And to make sure that they know how many people and how many seating arrangements are required. Now, in this third example, I was only going to give you 2 examples, but I said, let me throw in there a third one. The first 2 were a little bit more meeting oriented and conference oriented. This particular one is wedding oriented. And if you see in there, it has information about weddings. But one particular thing that is highlighted, that little section that people sometimes go over, and it's really, really important, is the guarantee amount, right? They are indicating in there what is the number of people that they are guaranteeing, that the client guaranteed, and that should match what's in the contract. Okay, so please keep mind of that. And then again, you see another difference and another different detailed breakdown. You have the food, and between the food and the beverage, now the beverage is in this particular one, and it's stating there by consumption and the different things that it includes, right? The different drinks. And in the food, it's also broken down. It's broken down by time. It's broken down by, that they're going to have a salad that's going to be preset, and then the buffet, what time that's going to open, how long it's going to be open to. In addition to the buffet, they have 2 stations. So those are things that really have to, like I said, the meats and potatoes of everything. So make sure that you really take time to look at it. Wow, I cannot believe we're at the end of the first episode. So what did we discuss today? The B.E.O. B.E.O. So with that said, the BEO banquet event order. What are the BEO rules? The 5 takeaways that I gave you. It is the order number, right? The event order number, which is usually on the top somewhere, right? The event date, very, very important. The client information, just as important. The event detail number 1, right? And then the event detail number 2, which is the meats and the potatoes, the nuts and cranny, that everything that needs to be in there that is specific for the flow of the event, for everything that is requested of the venue, and for it to be available on that day, and set up the way that it should. Go back, replay, review, and do some research after this. This is not the only thing that's out there. I am sure there's plenty of information out there, but I wanted you at least to think about it, start hearing the word BEO a little bit more often, understand it, be comfortable with it. Thank you so much for joining me in the first episode of Talking the Talk Eventfully. It's one of the segments from Basics to Success with me, Jacqueline Vazquez. Join us in the next episode. Take care.